Thank you, Tija. Could you tell us what you said you just composed that this afternoon?
Yeah, I composed that this afternoon, and just in reflection, kind of contemplation on the themes that we've been studying with Sensei a bit. The dark, the underworld, really connecting with the value of that presence of being, and finding our way into balance with that. So it's not something to be afraid of, and not something to be pushed away. So this was just a contemplation on that flow in musical language, and I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting it together and playing
Well,
it for
thank you so much. I'm sure everybody really appreciated it. And I see Sensei is ready to join us. So
Wonderful.
here you
Hey,
are, Sensei. Good evening, Sensei.
hello. There'll be no extra charge for that concert. Thank you, Deja.
Pleasure.
Okay. Good evening, good evening. Ah, I didn't want to change subjects too fast because the dark was such a major, and I thought by jumping too fast, you might think it's a minor. So I wanted to do hang out with it a bit longer, maybe take a lighter approach on it. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. Some people have been playing with it during the week. Should we dialogue? Anybody that wants to jump in who's been playing with dark, deeper dark, how to hang out there, the sense quality, sense feeling of the dark texture, blah, blah, blah. Anything? Anybody? Nothing, nada, zilch. Not a comment to be made, huh?
Sensei Bob here.
Hey, Bob there.
One thing I noticed in terms of many things that the benefits of the dark, but one in particular that came up this week was when things get a little bit intense, you feel like your system's getting a little bit overheated. Rather than trying to control it and say, bring it back, referencing the dark, feeling the dark, it sort of cools things down and sort of allows you to then continue forward in a less sort of frenetic way.
Okay. So are you using the dark, if you know, in a manifest linear, the less is the 1 by the 2 by the 3 by the 4 by or Bobby
Yes.
Robert and Nadeau?
In this particular context, yes, that's right.
Oh, okay. We might play a little bit with that tonight, although the dark is really big time. We might fun around with it within the manifest, what we call manifest and linear, to denote. And on that other map, which I probably don't have here, the overlay of manifest hidden, which we also call domain, the next divine level following OSensei's map. Those are the big. I'm going to have trouble. I'm going to choke to death here. Give me a sec. If that drink doesn't do it, I'll grab a bottle of scotch. But I thought it might be fun to play around with the smaller linear levels, although they may not show there. A 1-to-1 to a 2-by-2, a Bobby to a Robert, they may not show at that level. But I thought we could fun around for the practice. We'll see how tonight goes. Thank you, Bob. Anyone been dabbling in the dark during the week? Steve from LA I talked to him, but he's not on tonight. He had a family thing. but he was playing with it, experimenting, if we would. Nobody, nothing. Okay, I'll tell a story. They're working on this book about me, I think you're probably all aware of that. And so I was kind of mulling on my earlier history, because that's part of it, my high school years in judo and all that. And I remember it came to me that in high school, a buddy of mine, we were funning around and he wanted to play a little bit with hypnosis. Maybe he had a little book, I don't remember. So we were going to experiment. And so I was laying there and he was talking me through hypnosis thing. And very quickly, there was a deep dark there. And I was going deeper into this deep dark. Scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what to make of that. And I came fighting out of it. And so that came to mind that it was a very strong dark and fear of it, not knowing where I was or if I was whatever was going to happen. But so my first go around on a big dark scared the hell out of me. I fought out of it. Anyway. Wow. You're not going to talk to me tonight, are you?
Sensei, I'll jump in here. So one of the things that I was noticing about this to explore it a bit was that I guess the words I was coming up with was, or the recognition of it was more of like an absence of light or an absence of stuff. So it's hard to even describe. It's not like it was for me like this darkness realm, but it was like an absence of realm. And that was the dark, I'm sure.
And add again, absence of stuff.
It was just like absence of mind, absence of, in other words, it was like not a neutral zone, but it was, I guess when I think of dark, or when the word dark comes up, I'm like looking for some darkness, and that didn't seem to be the way it was showing up.
Yeah, it won't show to this guy here, except that level of it, thinking about dark. It's a thinking level. It's not going to be the dark that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and somebody just said, I didn't see the name in the chat, that it was empty. I think that's a closer word, but an absence is how it felt to me, in a good way, in a way that was open, not as where is something now?
Let me jump in for a moment. In the early years of my introducing down dark time, I was using water, like flood waters at this level. And in flood waters, there's barns floating by, and dead cows, and all kinds of debris of flotsam and jetsam all over the place. And in our settling down, we'd go deeper so that heavy stuff wasn't bumping us or bugging us or catching our attention. Mm-hmm. So I use that down in a kind of a floodwater sense. So you reminded me of that with the way you worded it. So yeah, I'm not saying you're necessarily going to see it as dark, although I think the percentage will be very high of people at those very big darks of experiencing it as dark. Good old Dr. Alexander, Proof of Heaven. Did I mark the pages? Probably not. But I don't know if I mentioned last time we were talking about dark. I didn't mark the pages, catch them later. But his first go around after he passed over was dark, okay? And there's a lot of icky feeling there. There's some kind of creepy crawlies in there. He didn't like it. So he, in certain forms, said, help. And then the light showed, okay? No one's going to force you to stay in the dark, maybe we could say. So you say, I've had enough of this. Boom, they'll start to be light. That level is opening up. Then you went to a finer level for a while. Hard to tell time on the other side. It's different than our time. And then when you went back to a dark, it was a much nicer dark. Okay. He recognized it as being similar, but he wasn't like a little child in the dark. It was more comfortable and stuff. So he had developed. So when he came back to the dark, he was hitting it at, what should we say, a better level? We could say dimensional level, maybe a better dimensional level of the dark, the truer of the dark. And it wasn't icky and scary. It was kind of pleasant. Okay. So if that meant anything. Did you finish, Roy? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sensei, this is Gina,
Gina, how are you doing?
my dark fan. Last week you said something like my dark of old that I used for years, that I really wasn't there. But I've thought about it and I just used that one to kind of clear, to go on to a better identity. That was my place to go to get finer. And I didn't acknowledge it as a really, a juicy place, which I didn't get until we worked with space. Like I always thought of space as nothing, but then you could ask, like, what is your job? Like every place has a job. So this week, investigating the dark that I came across when trying like to go from 4 to 5 and then bumped into this dense place that just knocked me out. I don't know. When I sit down, I kind of set my intention to get to hidden. So let's go through that dark. Is that what we're doing? I mean, because I keep getting bumped out. This morning was better. I hung out there longer.
Hmm?
And maybe once
If you're reaching and having a goal, quite likely you'll get bumped out. You
So
got to
don't have
take
a
the
goal?
trip. You have to take the trip, have the experience settling into deeper dark. Oh, I'm going there. That will probably screw it up a bit.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe we all have a sense we're going someplace, but we don't go on that agenda. We ride the ride, could I say? Okay. Now, why I said to you last week what I said to you was because you said, oh, wow, this dark you experienced a short time ago had some heavier texture to it. It was really dark.
Very dense.
Yeah, very dense, she calls it, okay? Denser dark. Which kind of clued me in a little bit, but I had checked on her self, see what her self was up to, and it felt more mental, more the idea, thinking about it, and she's starting to hit the more actual one, I would say, because she's feeling the texture. She's starting to feel, experience the texture of it. Yes. And as you settle more, easy more, open more, a sense of the finer texture of the dark, and go along for the ride. Don't use it to get someplace. You won't enjoy the ride. Okay.
Okay.
If you're on a train thinking Chicago, 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 you won't enjoy the countryside the train is driving through. That's very important that you enjoy and experience where you're at.
But it's so dark.
But it has a texture, could we say? Okay. And you got to hang out there and get finer, be finer there, so the texture can start to show it's a texture. And the more of it, there's more of it. And I don't even know what the hell it is, because I'm not a major here. I'm ahead of you, but I'm not a major here. You have to hang out and let it in its dark way unfold what it is. There's more going on than even I know about.
Wow.
Okay, it's not just dark shade. You see, I kind of use it a lot as a dark shade. Okay, dark shade. Now the next room of light. Now next dark shade. Next room of bigger, finer light. But it's more than a dark shade, huh?
That's a good question to ask it. Like when I said, what is your job? And it said to open me up, but I haven't gotten much more than that. And
open, meaning you sensing finer in more room space open, so that the dark that's there, and then continue easy, so that the sensed experience of the dark, sense experience. Maybe again, you can't come in with maybe too many questions where you're being an intellectual traveler. We need an experiential traveler.
okay.
And within that, there, of course, will be a natural after effect of intelligence or knowledge. Most of my stuff came from experience. So you say, well, he knows a lot or whatever. That's because I had the experience and got to the level and had the experience where things were known. Things were known. Am I saying that right? You following any of that?
Thank you.
Yeah, so hang out, soak, don't be in a rush, whatever.
Charging.
Anybody else with experience here this week?
Sensei, it's Justin.
Justin, hey.
Hi. I've been using dark as a downtime this week to I don't know, sort of intersperse moments to refresh and just get for me, the first levels of past thinking and feeling into a feeling sensing of dark is very calm and nurturing for me. I feel that it's a dark, quiet, and a calm and a peaceful at that maybe superficial level of dark.
No, that's fine. Let's say we're still in the linear manifest. That's okay. And that's what I thought we'd bring up tonight. Although it's not the major of it, we need a little practice, make friends better, take advantage of it in your daily life, a little quick down dark. Hey, here I am, more refreshed, stuff like that. So far, so good. Go.
Exactly like that. Sitting in that for just a minute or two or three with nurture. At a deeper level, I have a sense of it opens a bit. So there's a sense of dark and space. And I hit it at those superficial levels often. So I know there's a lot more of a profound to be experienced here.
For simple daily little interspersal things, I think that's cool
for me.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was going to bring up tonight, that type of thing. That it's not the big darks, the big transitions from manifest to the domain and domain to the divine, big ones. Or when you die, whatever size you want. If you're too you won't get into a much more advanced level of you. You might even come around, stand in line again. Okay.
Sure.
And I thought that coming around that fast, that there's no development really. OSensei inferred to me worse than that. They could even come around a little bit lesser. Say a Bobby passes over, doesn't handle this well, and gets out of there real fast, stands in line. He could come back as a strange Bobby or a weird Bobby or not quite there Bobby. So it was even worse than I thought, according to OSensei. I knew you weren't going to develop much if you did that too fast, not take advantage of how things work. But he also inferred, no, they can get a little bit worse than doing that. So anyway, just. So where are we? Somebody? Is that okay, Justin? We finish? Yeah. So I thought, for example, when we practice, say, a 1x to a 2x, or a Bobby to a Robert, or a fair day to a good day, whatever patterns that you use. That we've been using, letting go, clearing, some others, I forget what they are right now. Okay. But just funning around with the dark, just maybe you could have some fun in just doing, instead of those other variations, just the dark variation, dark. And so Bobby sits in dark, rides the dark, best as he can at his level. And then after a minute, 5 minutes, how much time do you have? And he brings you to a better place. And maybe you'll be a Robert, okay? Or taking your bad day, maybe it'll be a fair day, okay? When you do the big ones, you can move through that much faster. But these little games, these extra few minutes you have, you got to catch your breath, or you're getting a little tense and you're still at work. You can't continue being tense. So you say, give me 5 here, you know. You tell your secretary, no calls for 5 minutes, and you do your thing. Yes. Okay. All right. So I used to do it. I came home from Japan after working in the factory because there was no Aikido students who knew what Aikido was. And I would use the break times, you know, to recenter, re-energize. I would do something. I would go hide behind a bunch of boxes. I was in the shipping department, and I'd go hide behind there and do my thing. Yeah, just taking advantage of those few minutes that we have during the day, where we can, at least it helps us not to get tighter and tighter and tighter. At least we sort of draw the line and say, okay, hold it here, easy, open. Whether I get much more advanced at that few minutes, I don't know, but at least it stops me from getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Okay. Kind of a dumb example, count to 10 before you act out, you know, kind of that flavor. That's our form, Justin, of counting to 10. We use, and tonight I just wanted to keep the dark thing alive for a while. So just using dark as a practice to get more practice with it, more time with it. Okay. Not to say you shouldn't do proper sitting with proper length of time, you know, whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. But yeah. So, where are we? Somebody?
Well, Sensei, this week, practicing, you know, with the dark, it seemed for me mostly about retuning the senses. So, because as the sense feeling progresses, it turns out even though it looked like there was nothing, turns out there's a lot going on in the dark when you listen at it, when you tune into it, when you let go of what you were expecting and where your mind was.
Yeah, of course.
And
shifting.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Well, yeah, I had a while back, I had a pretty substantial dark experience that, you know, I don't know if we want to go into it, but for this week, yeah, that's been the practice to, you know, it seems like it should be the quiet is related to the darkness, you know, the stillness is related to the darkness. All these things are related to darkness.
Okay. And as we sense finer and sense finer, the more, I don't know how to say it, the more within the dark, the more the dark itself can express itself, show itself, clarify itself. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. Again, even much more than I know. Okay. Maybe
Sensei-
there's some.
Oh.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Sean here.
Sean.
I like when our I can't remember what his name is, but anyways, when the notion of the sense of renewal, by going to the dark, there is a sense of renewal. By going there often enough, you know that's a cyclical thing, and that's you can depend on that, and that sense, it's almost like a seasonal event.
Yeah. We brought that up heavy duty when we were talking about downtime. Dark and downtime for me are pretty much the same, but we brought that up a lot when we were talking about downtime, how natural it is. Look at the plants in your garden. They have a downtime and then they're revived. And there's a season or 3 months or whatever.
Right.
You've been running, you can't run anymore. You stop and you catch your breath. You're settling down. You're doing something's happening there. Okay.
Right.
Tonight and this week, we're just majoring in the dark word. Just want to
and
keep
in the dark, I feel like that's like, if there's any sense of season, that would be like winter. There's a sense of stillness. There's a sense of fine, and you encourage us to go finer into that sense of stillness. And finer stillness is an experience that you can't talk about because it's so still. There's no utterance. There's nothing. There's just a sense of presence, and that comes out of, I mean, when that expresses itself, it's self-evident. It's not, it doesn't need to be even spoken. It can only be recognized by a similar state of stillness, or deeper, finer.
And I'm a little careful on things like anything that seems like it's nothing or whatever. It's like, no, it's a something itself.
Yeah.
And as we get into us settling, opening better level of sensing and spending some time sensing, and sense what have the right words here, what it feels about itself, its job, its nature, how it fits into the big picture, because it goes quite a ways, you know. Anyway, yeah. So, dark. I wanted to keep it a little bit light tonight. You want to play a game? Let's play a game. And I used to do this in different ways on the mat in an Aikido format, but let's play it here. And the game is, you're a normal, even a little tighter, a normal human being, okay? You don't know nothing about dark and dimensions and stuff, okay? Can you imagine you at that level? Or if you have trouble doing personal me, we're talking about those poor souls out there, those poor, excuse me, dumb people, those heavy people. Okay, you got the game? You're repping for the heavy people. Okay, now here's a normal heavy person, and out of nowhere, suddenly there's dark showing for them. Okay. Ooh, what's that? Icky, poo. What's their reaction? What are the different reaction possibilities? Which ones are you picking up that your neighbor might experience bumping into the dark?
Apprehension, nervousness.
Okay. And based on what? Apprehension, because
The
it's
dark
foreign,
awareness.
apprehension. Come on.
Idea that there are hidden things in the dark that are unknown.
Yeah. So
I like to control. I like control. I can't handle unknown. It makes me nervous.
yeah, okay. Something's happening that's shaping dark. Let's say keep it on the dark sense. And I'm going to lose control here. That's what happened to me in that self-hypnosis thing when I was a teenager. I didn't have any control. I was going deep, dark. It was like, oh, I'm out of here. Somebody, what is your heavy person experiencing bumping in the dark for the first time?
Denial. It's not part of my way that I think things operate. So I just deny it. It's my imagination.
Yes, immediately they're bouncing off of it. Yeah. They don't even flavor it for a moment or whatever. They're already, this can't be happening. This isn't happening. I must have fell asleep here, or what am I doing? Wake up, come on, kind of thing. Denial, okay? Somebody? What's your heavy person? How are they?
Avoid it. Sensei, like turn to find some light, try to get away from it.
Yeah. You see, that's what happened to the doctor's first go around. He's in the dark and he wants out of there. Boom, there's some light starts to show. Okay. You're not going to be forced, as far as I know, my experience, you're not going to be forced to stay in the dark. If you start screaming, no, again, if you just do a little bit, bing, you're going to end up back in line, and back in line, be here again, potentially dumber. Okay. So what we're trying to get across last week with the big darks is why we're getting familiar with them, and why I'm trying to bring up the nice sense of it is so you'll take advantage. So when you do pass on, pass over, hopefully you'll remember this, go, oh, easy, it's okay, ride the dark. Better you ride the dark, the fuller you ride the dark, sensing the dark, the better dimensional level it can bring you. Okay. All right. See, again, I bring up Henry Kono. Henry Kono was not bad with the dark. He had enough grounding that he carried over in the Aikido and whatever practices he was doing, where it wasn't apparently totally foreign to him. So he rode the dark pretty good. And then he got to be a group leader in the astral dimensional plane he's in. He hit that plane a little bit special. They recognize him. That's why some gathered around, and he's got his group. Okay. So he's the sensei at that level, let's say. So the better, fuller utilization of the dark, you can move along faster to a much better level instead of, I'm out of here, boom, kind of thing. Okay. New Zealand was on and was talking about going through the dark and for the time allotted, and then she got to light and she felt refreshed, like she just had a shower or something. I thought, yeah, that's cool. That kind of gives you a clue of how it works. Ride the dark. You're at a better level. She was at a cleaner level. Okay. For the time allotted or the fullness of the dark, or her level of experiencing the dark, got her to that level. Yes. And I suggested more finer level of the dark, more dark, and of course, longer practice, a longer time in, so that you get to an even better place of you, better level of you. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Where are we? How are we doing? Oh yeah, we're doing a heavy, those poor souls run into dark. You can't be finished if you're playing the game. There ought to be some fun stuff there. Here's a normal person, and they sit quiet for a moment, and suddenly there's a whole bunch of dark there. What might their reaction be? What's your sense of what their reaction might be to this dark, taking a negative angle on it for fun? Well,
They might feel revulsion or like
Why?
it shouldn't be there.
What should be there? Yeah, I don't know if that's a proper question here, but just for fun.
Like darkness isn't okay. It's not allowed.
All right. Jesus, that's kind of weird, huh? Because we allow it every night. Don't pay your electricity bill. See what you get.
Paranoia.
Yeah. So this must be the devil. I must be doing something wrong. Oh, this, by the way, is related to what they call the dark night of the souls. Okay. You're doing your spiritual light work and you're moving along better light work and you're moving along better light work. At a certain level, a major dark may hit. When that starts to hit, they coined the term dark night of the soul. But just look at a linear progression, one by one. Settle, open, you're kind of spiritually inclined. You move into a 2 by 2. Again, you're spiritually inclined, you settle, you pray, you meditate, whatever it is you're doing. Move into a 3 by. Soon now, anytime now. Move into a 4 by. Any place around in there, that could start to show. Okay. Well, this is a spiritual person who every night at the same time prays and meditates and whatever, and suddenly this thing is happening. What a shock. Okay, I don't want you people to be shocked. That's why we started this dark intro. Okay. Again, the game there is, what should we call it? Changing styles, changing directions, may not be quite right. Right there's an opportunity to get off the Bobby Robert Nadeau improvement line. Finer sensing, it's potentially a change of worlds. Potentially, it's the setup to move out of the linear manifest into the domain, which is overlaid. Remember that map? You start to move into that level. You don't have to continue Nadeau Sensei, the great Nadeau. Oh my God, the magnificent Nadeau. And that pattern is nice, but it goes on and on, virtually forever. Okay. There comes a time where when this dark hits, it's saying, hey, you did good, you're here. Now let's go into the here-ness, but not using exactly that same pattern now. Okay, and I don't know how to word this well, but we're moving into it. Your space sense will help. Your finer sensing of self will help. Okay, because that's all involved in there. We're just, I don't have the vocabulary right here, but we're changing styles. We're changing directions. We're moving from the manifest linear to the hidden domain is the potential right there. And people not having a heads up on that, like so many of those spiritual people, who got into the dark night of the soul. That's basically what's happening there. Okay. And some of them cut and run. They give up meditation. Some of them go a little weird there because they're spiritual types, and suddenly it's dark and they don't know what to make of it. God knows what they do. But this is an important something. This is an important something. Okay. So we're just trying to, the reason to present this last week, I give you a heads up on it so you recognize it. You recognize some of the fears that the heavies have, to the point where, oh, that's what a heavy does. I don't do that because I settle, get into finer sensing, more space. Be easy, easy. Let it unfold, easy. Let me figure it out. It won't work well. Easy. Let it unfold. It'll clarify itself in your easy sensing experience. Okay. So because you're going to run into this, guaranteed. Okay. I want you to have a heads up on it and be cool with it, so you'll be a faster developer. Okay. Where are we? Somebody.
Sensei, I don't know if this is diverges, hopefully not, but what comes to mind when you're talking about this change of direction, in a small way, albeit, is with my experience of using ground as a travel vehicle. When there's a moment settling and opening from a level 1 to a deeper level of ground, there's a sense of, for me, a gap almost. I'm not hitting one floor and then another immediately. There's a gap there, if you will, before the next
pause and emptiness and not knowing. That's what when we did the 1 by 2 by 3 bys, you all had that pause when you move from a 1 by 2, a 2 by, or 2 to a 3. There was a pause there and things weren't clear.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you to be easy, don't jump the gun, don't panic, easy, and then things start to show. My example would be, first there's a sense of energy, something moving around, energy moving around, and of course the more room of a 3 by compared to a 2 by, and the character that starts to take up residence along the center. So you got a center, circle, circle, center. And you're a 3 by person. You ain't Bobby anymore. This ain't Kansas anymore. So where are we?
Oh, just that my sense of things change when I pass through that membrane. And so I imagine in a much larger way, it's similar to what you're saying by change of direction, change of world. I don't know if it's a good analogy, but that's my impression from my experience with ground and membranes to what you're saying about passing into the domain of self there. Yeah,
it's just, it's something a bit different because there could be a lot of confusion there. Again, what they used to call, or what some people call the dark night of the soul. There's a little confusion, because they've been spiritually developing and spiritually developing and spiritually developing. And one night they're sitting there, ding, and something happens that doesn't fit in with their years of practice of being spiritual or upgrading Nadeau line kind of thing. Something happened. What the hell? Easy. We're giving you a heads up. Might be that zone. If you think you're at a 4 by 4, you're quite likely that's what's happening there. Okay, easy, let it unfold. Don't panic, don't freak. It's okay. Okay, we're trying to give you a heads up by spending some time in the dark. So if it shows in whatever form, even if it shows a little bit different form, you'll recognize it because there should be something similar. So I say dark, you say no, it's just empty or something. Whatever, somehow you'll recognize it as being, oh, it's that thing. Yeah. sense. Blah, blah, blah. Are we finished, Justin? So yeah, quite likely we don't see the dark normally on a linear manifest 1 by to a 2 by, or as he's saying it, the first floor, and then your deeper second floor. But there is a gap, a pause. So to play the game, we could just say, okay, that's a dark time. And now you're at the next stage or the next floor or the next dimension, and it turns light again, but at that level, and mixes up a character in his world at that level. Ain't Bobby anymore. As a martial artist. Got something going for you here. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm sort of a heavy duty martial artist type. I'm not saying you're all going to be, Some of you would be more caring. Some of you would be more sensitive. Some of you would be more aware. I just like the monster shit. Kind of fun for a while. Maybe I should. I really like this guy. Do you know this guy? Can you turn the camera on that guy? Or do I have to bring it down?
I can try. Hold on.
Try it. Yep. When I saw this woodblock print, I jumped for it. Trying to turn the camera here because I don't know if I can pull it off the wall. We're getting there. There he is. In Japanese, that's Goro, uprooting the bamboo. Not a clear shot. Anyway, bamboos are to uproot a bamboo. You gotta be very powerful. Kind of reminded me of OSensei uprooting a tree. One of the stories about him in his strong stages. Anyway, that's a woodblock print. And I saw it and I grabbed it for one reason, not just because I like Goro, but the only other woodblock print that I'm aware of is one existing in the Tokyo Museum. That's a beautiful, that's not a print, that's a straightaway woodblock. Unfortunately, we took the back off. A guy in 1940, Japanese fellow, made that, did a woodblock print, but he made it in 1940. But anyway, so that was part of the reason I bought it. Holy shit. Here's this woodblock print, and the only one I'm aware of is in Tokyo. But I would have got it anyway, because I like Goro uprooting the bamboo. That tickles me. Thank you, Brad. Yeah. Okay. So nothing more on how a not trained person running into dark might respond. The ones you said were good. Any others? Can we go a little further with it? Let's say they get into it a bit. What's the texture? What's going on in the earlier stages of a smaller, heavier dark, could I say? And the person starts to get drawn down into that early stage of a dark. What about that one? Anybody?
Sensei Tisha here. I have a couple observations for you.
Okay.
So one of the first things that often happens as I've worked with so many meditators over these decades, one of the first things that you'll bump into, and then we'll go to the next one, one of the first things is they try to fill the space up with things they already know about. So as not to deal with the emergence of what some folks have called the unknown, or what's unknown to them.
Yeah. hang on a second. So
Sure.
patience, let it unfold. Easy is a beautiful word right there. Easy also means don't panic. Easy, it will clarify. Easy. Hang out. Don't freak out. Don't panic. Hang out. Easy. And some nights things don't clarify for me in one session. Especially if it's big time, I have to come back at it again another day and go at it again. But it always clarifies. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So trying to fill it up is one of the first things. And what needs to happen often is in doing the practice. You were talking about Dark Night of the Soul and the fact that people are practiced, but they've practiced within certain parameters that likely feel safe to them. And the Dark Night aspect is one of those things that what you're opening into is doubt concerning everything that you've learned to that point.
If the dark hits, God knows, doubt, fear, untold variety of stories.
Yes, that's right. So what I often will work with meditators on is in terms of sitting and doing meditation, is I say, this is going to sound strange, but you've got to have a little tolerance for stillness. People they think they can just sit down and meditate, but they don't have much tolerance for stillness.
Yeah.
And I think also in the way that you're talking about the dark and the underworld, we don't have much tolerance for the dark or for the underworld.
Could I jump in again and say?
Sure.
You probably will have very little as a thinker, as a feeler, a little bit more, could we say, but not a lot. Finer feeling, maybe. It's when you hit the sensing level. Feeling, finer feeling, easy, finer than that feeling. Now you're starting to potentially be in the sensing zone. Okay. Now I do it, here we do it in a moment. If you're actually sitting, it's going to take more than a moment. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So having tolerance for that process.
Yeah. Tolerance, patience, be at ease. Easy. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you say easy the eye? I think I'll write that down. Remember that.
Yeah, easy the eye. Easy the eye. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that brings up a whole different subject. Let me see if I can. What you said, where they hit a space and they don't know anything, and they. Because it's not clear to them, whatever, it seems empty, whatever. And they try to fill it up with stuff. This is sometimes, oh boy, got to be careful here. Where you've learned things in your spiritual development.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, I had 9 years in Catholic school. That's a lot of Catholic school, people. So God knows, as a Catholic kid, what I could throw into that. Or you heard Sensei say some fancy word, and you think, no, I need that word. Boy, this is a whole subject in itself, how it's you following yourself back. So do be careful of throwing in, I'll say this carefully, throwing in stuff you heard about. And so after a while, you get to trust you. It's your journey. It's your qualities. Okay.
That's really quite an important place. And even with meditators, I'll tell them, you got to unlearn meditation.
Yeah.
Really.
Is that the old kill the Buddha along the way?
Yeah, well, there's the Ren-side. Yes, exactly.
It's starting to get in your way. Certain things will get in your way because they're not you. And this journey is you self all the way back to a more original self. Your qualities. You. Again, we follow we need a word, certain basic rules, certain patterns. Oh, Sensei gave me a word, I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I can't remember the word. Certain existing patterns of creation, like center circle kind of thing. But again, your personal qualities are yours. And even if somebody has a similar quality, his color scheme on it is probably a little bit different. Not everybody's a straight green. Some people are more olive green. Some are more forest green. Some are more, So even if they're kind of similar, it's still them with theirs. You have to do you with yours. And this is hard to talk about.
Referring to archetypes, a person's archetypes in that way or not?
Yes, and we'll get to that one day, people tracking I self, and we'll bring up archetypes one day.
Sure.
So that's interesting to me. Anyways, it's hard to talk about because, you throw that out and people say, oh, I get to do it my way. And some people are off the wall now. It's like, yes, you, but within this construct of creation, there are certain patterns of the construct of creation. Okay. Yeah. In a certain way, we all sit settle. In a certain way. Okay. All right. When in my starting years, there were a few yoga books around, and I would look at that first couple of pages where they had their 10 rules. And they had some bizarre ones. They were, I guess, mainly from India. You don't eat hot foods. And when you leave your wife, you go live in a cave. And just on and on and on. So they had a variety. Each book, India yoga type guy, had his different 10 rules. And I looked at that and I said, whoa. But every one of them said, meditate, meditate, meditate. I said, that's it. That's the main thing. Meditate. Okay. Not hot foods, cold foods. Screw them. I eat donuts and drink coffee. If God is so small, I can't get to him with drinking coffee and eating donuts. Screw him. He can't be very much. If that stops the thing, was my attitude in those days. I'm that way. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Tisha. We got both of those, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We're good.
Yeah, so it's very, very touchy. I know you see somebody great and you try to mimic, but you have to be careful because you can't sort of backtrack or follow yourself back to more original you in trying to mimic them. So even though Sensei told me a couple of times very clearly, Nadeau, I really appreciate that you really care for me and all of that. But careful here, be you. Okay. Now, I still respect his bigger sense and how that works. So I follow that overall pattern kind of thing. But not, I got to be OSensei. I got to look like him and move like him. I'm not going to grow a white beard. Okay. So again, we need a word for that general. Teacher, you got a word, the general rules of creation?
Well, just essentially principles.
Principles is probably a good word.
I think
there are certain principles there, yeah. That don't matter if you're a musician, a fighter, a lover, a healer. Yes, develop yourself within these principles. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. It's a little hard to talk about at this moment. We'll come up with a better languaging one day, huh? Yeah. Well, we're bouncing around a bit. Interesting stuff. So nobody wants to say anything about going into the dark a bit when you're hitting the, I don't know what to call it, heavier levels.
This is Nancy.
I'm sorry, say what?
This is Nancy.
Nancy?
Hi. Yes. I just realized I wasn't here last week, so I'm just kind of getting a start with this, but I realized that I always experience emptiness as a very friendly, dark place because again, there's so much space there, and the emptiness is the opposite of all this stuff or the 10,000 things. And so, but as such, it's a really friendly emptiness. It's a darkness that's free and
No,
breezy.
you're sounding like you're into the doctor's second go around at the dark. First one was icky and crawlies around and stuff. Second one was, oh, it's kind of neat. And it had that tonality that you're giving. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the feeling I get.
Again, one trick, you're going to see the universe at different levels as being vast. I think a trick of the trade there is not to get caught up in the vastness, because there's a tendency to sort of kind of float up and out and off. So I'm aware it's vast, but I'm right here. Don't know how to word this well, but I'm right here. Not here, but here, experiencing the texture of the dark, let's say, or whatever. I'm experiencing. I know it's vast, but I don't know what to say. Hold my presence. I don't know if any of these words are quite right. I just be careful of, oh, it's vast, and I'm going to float off into the vastness.
Okay.
There'll be a tendency to lose your positioning, or since I would call it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we lose your ground. There is a ground in these vastness. There's depth in these vastness. It's not just upper half.
Well, I get the sense that in that groundingness, there's also room, like rootedness and like winter, and there's space in the emptiness, in the groundedness.
Definitely, and very important. A lot of people, too many, unfortunately, it's an ancient problem, have missed that. They're spiritually aware and not enough experience. Now, when you're aware, you can get a little experience, and they think, "Oh, I'm experiencing." Yeah, but there's a major experience, so I can just keep saying that over and over again.
Thank you.
Sensei, I think of when you a comment about that was about practicality. There's a sense of squared away. I I don't know. You often demonstrate kotegaeshi and do squared away, and I think of that as like utmost practicality, utmost back to basics, and
presence.
Yeah, presence. Correct. Checking presence, checking levels of presence.
Yeah. See, you can learn kotegaeshi, and I can do kotegaeshi, but after a bit, it's this guy doing it. Something's not quite right. And this guy can learn a little more variations. What about kotegaeshi with that kind of twist? And so on. Or what about this trick? Yes, this trick works. The fuller experiential presence of kotegaeshi. Yeah. So whatever you want to call that, I sometimes say squared away, but the fuller presence of, quote, kotegaeshi. See, I traded in Bobby for kotegaeshi. Now, Bobby learned to do kotegaeshi, and Bobby's going to do kotegaeshi better. That's the constant thing I try to say, teach. Yeah. You've got to change dimensions and realize you're changing characters there. So we use Mr. Kotegaeshi as an example. I know a lot of people out there don't care about being Mr. Kotegaeshi, but if they catch the trick, They can be Mr. Guitar Player and Mr. Lover and Mr. Healer and Mr. Businessman and whatever. It's just getting the flavor of how it works. So we played in a certain game form in the dojo was the intent. Okay. Anyway, well, so dark. Anyway, the game I was trying to play was the first sense of it. Now people react again, varying from, oh no, this isn't happening. I better get another drink or turn on TV or something. Gee, I don't have any control there. I better get out of here. And that's the one that happened to me when I was a teenager, and my buddies starting to put me under deep and dark, and I didn't know where I was, but I didn't have any control up and out of there. That was the last time we played with that in those years. But let's take a couple minutes here. Let's erase all of that. Da. As best as you can. You're at a settled, I can't say sensing yet. Finer feeling, easy. Settled. Sense of there is a little more room, deeper. Easy, settle. Shifting from finer feeling to a bit of sensing. Finer feeling, finer, right into sensing. Okay, now in this big, deep, dark, easy. Don't shift over to thinking, we'll screw up the game. Don't shift back to feeling, sensing, finer feeling, sensing. Easy. Again, the niceness of the dark. We're all in a finer level, could we call it, of the dark. What's the sense experience of it that's pleasant for you in some form, nice for you, easy? If you're saying, oh, thank God, it's time to enjoy the dark. Thank God it's back. I really been missing it. Easy sensing. I like there's a heavy sense of calmness, okay? That's not everything, so we continue. Easy. Calm and what? Easy. I'm hearing the word beneficial. I don't know how, but I'm just going to hang out. I don't stop my game and try to figure out beneficial. I'm just, okay, beneficial, so noted and easy. Finer sensing, easy. What's your sense experience if you were really enjoying the hell out of your dark time?
A sense of connection to a peaceful presence, being present in a peacefulness.
Calm, regenerative, not my word. Okay. Okay, that was 2 or so minutes, 3 minutes, not bad, huh, for 2 or 3 minutes. There's much more in there. That's why I tell you, on your own time, you should spend some time. Anything before we finish up here? Would you?
This is Nancy. I have something.
Go ahead.
I sense that there's a space in between the roots of the phenomenon. Like there's this deep kind of emptiness that allows the phenomena to have space around them before they really manifest. They want to have a little room to breathe, if you will, before, manifesting. So the roots that go between all the everything.
Okay. And I'm not sure, double check that the space isn't saying the dark is bigger in the space. Maybe you check. I'm not sure. Just thought I'd throw that out as a.
Just that the dark is a kind of maybe equal amount of space, or but space nevertheless for things to then be able to exist with a proper breathing room around them. So the dark gives that
In doing this stuff, again, I said before, you can't go wrong in our basics, easy and sensing and more space. Deeper, okay, and it's, for lack of words, a sense of finer dimensions, because you can hit the dark at first, especially if you're a little heavier, as thick and heavy, icky even. Easy, it's not easy and open, or it's opening more. So that sense of it's dimensional and it's finer and finer. So you get a true read on the dark. So you don't get bit by the snakes. That's why I told you that story. Settle and open, and eventually the snakes were smiling. I said, aha, what's going on here? They came from a very beautiful place. Very beautiful.
What I'm sensing seems very spacious.
Yeah. So it's a good word. That's why we brought up space. Was our workshop space? Yeah. Take advantage of that. It's a good word. Good, can be used. Okay, people.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much,
Hi.
Sensei.
Oh,
There's some more.
sorry.
Here we go.
Hi, Sensei.
Special note of thank you to Tisha, and thanks, Bob.
Richard, we're not done.
Go.
It was a little latency coming all the way.
We ain't got time for you to giggle. Go.
sorry. Sensei, my sense of that dark in those 2 minutes was quite different. Like I got a sense of being protected and being safe. And then I got this sense of like being in a womb.
Yeah, that's come up before. And yeah, more than one person has mentioned womb-like feeling. Again, this safety in it. So it's telling her, so to speak, that she's safe, she's protected. It's okay to hang out here longer and really let go into it. So she's picking up the more of it, and that's nice stuff to feel. If you're not quite sure, to feel safe really helps. Again, back to the doctor. That was his second go around on it, where it was kind of pleasant. I don't know if he used the word safe. I'd have to read it again to see. But it was kind of nice compared to his first one, which was icky poo, get me out of here. So as you play with this, you infer it's finer. You take advantage of it's bigger. Not that you have to go out bigger that way, but it's bigger. There's more room for it to show the reality of itself, to express itself. And because I can sense whatever it is. Okay. A sensor doesn't sit over here and look at something and say, well, I'm sensing it. Sensing is right in it. Right in it. Experiencing it. So I bring up dumb examples like sitting in a hot tub. It's different than looking at the hot tub and knowing it's hot because you see the steam. That's cute, but that's not experience to the level that we want to talk about. It's when you sit in there and the heat is just permeating the whole body. It's kind of like that. It's just a full permeation. Sensing is not. I'm looking around at it and I'm sensing it. I know I'm smart and I'm sensing it. That's not the level. Okay, sensing. The self that senses partakes and experiences this fully through. Okay, if you're too much awareness, you'll see it and you'll be aware of it. And you'll probably think you're really experiencing. I'm sorry to say, you're not. You get tidbit. I feel warmer when I get closer to the hot tub. The steam is kind of coming out and touching me. Oh, I'm experiencing. I feel the warmth. That's different than immersing in the tub and really soaking in there to such a degree where you can't hardly tell your body from the hot water, could I say? It's like, all feels like one thing, something like that. Damn the words, people. Damn the words. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
People, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sensei. Thank
Sensei.
you,
And
everybody.
thank you very much
Reminder,
to TJ
reminder,
Brown, Sensei, for
reminder.
his
Thank you, Sensei.
Reminder.
lovely guitar to start us off. Go ahead, Sensei.
Let's see.
Go ahead.
San Francisco Dojo, 1:30 Sunday, the 30th. For anyone interested in doing the Aikido, San Francisco Dojo, the 30th, 1:30.
And Sensei, I believe you're also teaching every night, Tuesday now, 6:30 to 8 at the Mountain View.
In Mountain View, yeah, regular 6:30 to 8 class. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sensei. Everyone
Thank
have
you.
a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tija, for the wonderful
Thank you,
music.
Sensei. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Richard. It was a great idea.